Do your hamstrings always feel tight? You stretch them before you work out, and maybe even stretch them after you work out. Maybe even stretch them every morning. And maybe they loosen up for a few hours, but then a couple hours later, they're right back and they're tight right where you started. Here's something I want you to consider. What if your hamstrings aren't the real problem? What if they're actually doing extra work because another major muscle group isn't contributing properly? Today we're going to talk about your glutes, how they work together with your hamstrings and low back, and why improving that entire system may be much more useful than just focusing solely on stretching your hamstrings. Hi, I'm Dr. Matt Bradbury, family corrective chiropractor. Here we are at One Life Family Chiropractic in Georgetown, Ontario, Canada. Today we're going to be talking about why your hamstrings are always tight and why I want you to check your glutes first. Of course, if you're just tuning in, make sure you take a moment. I love being a part of your health journey. Take a moment, make sure you like and subscribe so we can see more of each other along the way. Now, in the first part, I want to talk about why tight doesn't necessarily mean short. This is a concept I've talked about in some of our previous videos, and we tend to think that muscles feel tight, therefore muscles must be physically short. I need to stretch it. But that's actually an oversimplification. That sensation of tightness can be influenced by muscle fatigue, training load, your nervous system, movement habits, previous injuries, sensitivity of the surrounding tissues. And remember, muscle tone is ultimately regulated by your nervous system. So sometimes that tight feeling may be your body's way of creating stability or responding to the demands you're placing on your body. So there's something really important I want you to ask yourself. Instead of immediately asking, how do I loosen this muscle? I want you to ask, why does my body keep this muscle switched on? That, I think, is a much better question. And part two is your glutes and hamstrings are teammates. Let's take a look at some basic anatomy. Your glute max is a powerful hip extensor, and your hamstrings also contribute to hip extension. When you walk, run, stand up, deadlift, hip hinge, pick things up, move your body, pick up your child, pick up your groceries, these muscles are supposed to work together. Your body doesn't think, okay, glute max, you work now. It coordinates the movement as a system. But if your movement strategy relies less on your glutes, your hamstrings may end up contributing more. That doesn't necessarily mean the hamstrings are bad. They're doing their job. They just may be doing more than their share. And as a third part, I want you to remember our topic on gluteal amnesia. And this ties directly into our recent video on gluteal amnesia. Think about your average day. We sit and eat breakfast. We sit in our cars to drive to work or on transit. We get to work, we sit down, we sit at lunch, then we sit some more, and then we sit for our commute home. And then maybe we sit again at night. You'll notice there's lots of sitting going on. That's a lot of time with the hips spent flexed and very little need for hip extension. And then we may be going to the gym for an hour and expecting our bodies to work and extend those hips properly. I want you to remember, what you practice, you get better at. If you aren't regularly walking, standing up, moving around, hinging your hips, picking things up, and encouraging your glutes to work, you may not be giving your body the opportunities for your hips and your glute muscles to engage and be used. Now, this doesn't mean sitting literally turns off your glutes. It means your daily habits influence your movement strategies. Now, the next part, and one good clue this may be happening, your hamstrings cramp during simple exercises like bridges. I want you to bring your hips up, pause, and hold at the top. And now what I want you to do is take note. What do you feel the most? Mostly your glutes, your hamstrings, your low back? Some people will immediately say, my hamstrings are cramping. Now, that doesn't necessarily diagnose a glute problem, but mind you, it can be useful information. Your body may be choosing a hamstring dominant solution. Your body may be choosing a hamstring dominant strategy for that particular movement. Now, instead of immediately stretching the hamstrings, I want you to take note of how you're producing movement. Now, in this next part, I want you to take note as well, is your low back joining in the compensation too? If your hips aren't generating and controlling the movement particularly well, your lumbar extensors may be contributing more than they should be. That's when you start hearing the combination that I often hear. My hamstrings are always tight, my hips feel stiff, and my low back is always tight. Those may not be three completely separate problems. They can sometimes be pieces of the same movement strategy. The low back and hamstrings are working extra hard, while the hips aren't sharing the load as effectively as we may like. So really, I don't want you to chase the loudest muscle. I want you to look at the whole movement. And I'm going to show you what to do about it next. In this next part, I'm going to show you what to do about it. I'm not saying never stretch your hamstrings. If stretching feels good and helps you move better, great. But if you're stretching every day and nothing changes, I'd start working on your capacity and coordination as well. Now, exercise number 1, I want you to revisit the hip thrust and what you're going to do. I like this one because it's an easy one that you can load and progress. 8 to 12 controlled repetitions. I'm going to show you how to do it. When you do it, I want you to drive your big toe down, drive your knees out, come up, squeeze for 1 to 2 seconds, and then back down. You're going to work for at least 2 to 3 sets when you do it, and that 8 to 12 controlled repetitions. Again, you can progress this one nicely because what you can do is take a dumbbell, place it on your hip crease, and now you can actually load it and progress it. Exercise number 2, bringing it back to the squats. 8 to 12 controlled reps, again for 2 to 3 sets. Love this exercise because it really incorporates the whole body and teaches how to move for patterns that present themselves throughout your life. So what you're going to do is actually, with this, you can actually bring your hands up on the back of your head just like this. And I want you to keep your chest tall. And when you move, I want you to move first at the hips by breaking at the hip crease. And big toe down, knees open. And remember, you're going to probably want to warm this up because you probably haven't spent much time doing this throughout the day. So you're going to come down, knees open, and back up. And now I want you to focus on, as you come down, keep your chest tall and get your hips moving. Specifically, when you're coming through, I want you to drive your knees out, big toe down, keep your chest nice and tall, and focus on breathing out as you come up and making sure you're breathing throughout the movement. This one, I really want you to take a moment to own it because it's such a great carryover for all your real life activities. And for exercise number 3, this band that you're keeping handy at your desk for different movements or keeping handy at home for things like band pull aparts and shoulder work, I want you to use it now for number 3, which is going to be our hip hinge. And I'm going to show you how to do it now. The one thing I like about this is it gives you a little bit of cue. And what you're going to do is break at the hips first, just as if you're going to lean over to pick something up. But what you're doing is bending at your hips, leaning forward, very, very small bend in the knee, keeping the knee more or less straight. Come up, squeeze your glutes to the top. You'll notice as I lean back, I push my bum back until my torso is almost parallel with the ground, and then I come up, keeping my spine nice and straight. And with this, again, working that rep range, 8 to 12 reps, really working on thrust your hips through, squeeze your glutes to the top, good control, keep your low back straight, neutral, and drive through your hips as you come up. This is going to be excellent carryover to real life scenarios and the practice that you're going to need to help make you more capable. Remember those exercises, I want you thinking so that you're more capable throughout your daily routine. I want you to be able to say, when I need power, I know how to use my hips. And these are great movements to help cue your brain, your muscles, and teach you how to move that much more efficiently. Now in our last part, don't forget about the health of the nervous system and spine. This is often one piece that gets overlooked when we talk about muscles. Your hamstrings don't decide to become tight. Your glutes don't independently decide when they're going to contract. Your nervous system coordinates movement and healing. Your brain is constantly receiving information from your muscles, your joints, your tendons, your spine, your balance system, and then adjusting motor output based on those tasks. That's why I care about more than simply strengthening an isolated muscle. I want healthy movement, good strength, great mobility, recovery, sleep, stress management, and a healthy spine and nervous system. Remember, if your spine is stuck and not moving properly and creating irritation on the nerves, that's going to be a big factor, and we often call that the X factor in your overall performance and recovery. The only way to identify that is to visit your corrective chiropractor to get tested to know what's going on the inside. And that's why I can't stress more about the health of the spine and nervous system, as it coordinates the function and healing in your whole body. So consider that when you're looking at the big picture and you want to perform and recover that much better. So as we wrap up, if your hamstrings constantly feel tight and you've been stretching them for months, try asking yourself a different question. Instead of how do I stretch my hamstrings more, ask, why are my hamstrings working so hard in the first place? Check your glutes, look at your hip movement, look at how you squat, look at how you hinge, look at how much you're sitting, and look at the entire nervous system and spine and your movement strategy. Because sometimes the muscle that hurts or feels tight isn't necessarily the problem. It may simply be a muscle that's doing most of the work. And if this sounds like you, go ahead and watch my gluteal amnesia video next. You're going to want to watch that. I break down why your glutes may not be contributing as effectively as they could be, and the 2 exercises that I recommend prioritizing, squats and hip thrusts, start building your capacity back. And remember, what you practice, you get better at. Make sure you're practicing the right movements. Anyways, I loved having you today. It was a pleasure. Of course, make sure if you tuned in today, I love being a part of your health journey. So take a moment, make sure you like and subscribe so we can see more of each other down the road. And of course, remember, you're far stronger, more resilient, and resourceful than you may be led to believe. Bye for now.